This is yet another show from Disney Plus which I cannot bring myself to finish watching. I tried multiple times, but I still couldn't get past the first few episodes. Hello, and welcome back to another installment of Film Friday, in which I review a new film every single week. This week, we're taking a break from the norm and looking at a TV show miniseries from the Star Wars universe entitled The Acolyte, created by Leslie Headland and starring Amanda Steinberg. As always, this will contain some spoilers, so consider yourself warned. Let's get into it. I have called Disney Plus Star Wars shows boring in the past, but this is by far the most uninteresting, flawed, and pointless piece of work which I had seen the Star Wars franchise create. From the outset, it didn't seem as though we were following a story that was particularly unique or original. None of the characters we were introduced to were very interesting or compelling in any way. Nothing about any aspect of the show engaged the audience in any way. There was also one plot hole which really bugged me. It was somewhat trivial, without really being so. It was hard to tell if anything was important. But in the very first episode, in fact, I think in the very first scene, we learned that a Jedi never draws his lightsaber unless he's planning to kill someone. However, over the course of the first 3 episodes which I watched, there were at least 3 moments in which a Jedi drew his lightsaber without ultimately killing anyone. Again, it is a somewhat small detail, but the fact that the show opened with an untrue statement, likely just to sound cool, demonstrates how much of the show felt completely devoid of any real meaning. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I did try multiple times to watch and even enjoy the show, but I was still unable to get past the first few episodes. And fans, generally, even those who would consider themselves die-hard fans of Star Wars, are becoming less and less interested in watching the numerous TV shows and movies which Disney Plus is pumping out. So clearly something is going wrong if your own fans don't want to watch what you're producing, much less the broader audience. Now, to be fair, I'm not someone who's a die-hard fan of Star Wars, and I've never considered myself to be one. I understand the place that the original trilogy has in film history, and I've enjoyed watching some of the films and shows which the Star Wars franchise has produced, but I've never really gotten into it, as it were. However, I don't think that necessarily negates or invalidates what I'm saying here. Because if we look at the audience ratings for The Acolyte in comparison to the other Star Wars shows, this is by far the lowest rated one yet. I'm bringing this up just to demonstrate that this show is not something which anyone, Star Wars fan or otherwise, wants to see. In other words, no one likes it. And that's not because it's a misunderstood masterpiece that's before its time or anything like that. The obvious goal of these shows, particularly as we saw with Ahsoka or the later seasons of The Mandalorian, is to create something with fan appeal, inter-franchise references and cameos, and massive marketability. Disney is currently a very large corporation in the business of making as much money as possible, and the product are these films and shows. They're looking for a formulaic approach to filmmaking, if you can call it that. Something which will generate the most amount of profit. They don't really want to take risks or try to create anything too original, because there's always a chance that that will end up losing them money. Now, this is all pretty well known. None of this is in any way a secret. But the fact that all of that is the case, and this show still performed so badly, is very interesting. With that being said, thanks for watching, and be sure to comment your own thoughts below. And don't forget to subscribe for more movie reviews and commentary.